tell us what I think is overwhelmingly obvious, right? I mean, the game is Thursday. Chris Jones is not playing.
It would
right?
be. I mean, look, could he show up today, sign the contract, get a few snaps on Thursday night? Theoretically, yes. Realistically, no. I think they're game planning without him. They're going to have to try and figure out how to stop the Lions without him, and it's going to be difficult. There is concern there, right? I mean, he is the key to the pass rush. Anything they get off the edge has been tied to his ability to get, to generate pressure from the inside. As Orlovsky said, anything they do on the back end is tied to his ability to generate pressure on the inside. He is their most important player on defense, and without him, they are much weaker, and they know it.
And so the whole upset alert thing comes into focus here as a defensive player who played right in the middle of all of that. And can you explain, some people might be thinking, he's a defensive tackle. That might be the second most important position on the field in the modern NFL. How significant is that absence?
It's extremely significant because not only is he a war daddy when you talk about what he does against the run, he's a guy that they use as a chess piece. Remember early on they had him strictly as defensive end last year. He struggled for a second. They start moving around to the matchups. Listen, it's already going to be tough sledding because I think that he's going against a top 2 offensive line in the NFL to begin with. And now this is an opportunity for the Lions to play keep away from Patrick Mahomes. The best defense against Patrick Mahomes is keeping him on the sideline. And if you can sustain drives, you can win the time of possession, it continues to add more pressure on Mahomes to continue to score and try and keep pace. I know they won't have Williamson, but they still are a potent offense that, ended the season hotter than anybody in football from the offensive standpoint.
Let me ask my general manager here, Mike, how is this the case? At the beginning of camp, I remember all of the reports. So they're very optimistic. They will work something out with Chris Jones, et cetera. And now here we are 2 days before the opener. How does it get to this?
Yeah, Greedy, I don't want to sound unsportsmanlike here, but Kansas City made a big mistake here. A year ago when you let Tyreek Hill graduate to Miami, it's because Chris Jones is a have-to-have, and have-to-haves have to be there. And you know what Aaron Donald's making. You know what Quinton Williams is making. This is a have-to-have, and it has to be done right away. As Bart alluded to, Chris Jones is a dominant player. Their defense, as we have a graphic, shows how much better Chris Jones makes this Kansas City Chiefs defense. As you can see here, they are materially better with him. So how the front office doesn't have this deal is just surprising me. You made this decision a year ago, and by now he should be in camp.
No one loves a graphic like Tannenbaum loves a graphic. But let me just underline what you just said. You're saying Tyreek Hill, who I think most football fans would say, he's one of the most, he is obviously one of the most dynamic and outstanding players in the NFL. He's not as critical a piece if you're building a team as Chris Jones is.
That's right. If the 4 of us were running the Kansas City Chiefs, we would say, hey, we got Patrick Mahomes. We're going to manufacture Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore. We're going to draft Rasheed Rice. Chris Jones is a guy that you just can't find. And as Bart laid out and that graphic shows, they are dominant with Chris Jones on the field. And without him, they're average.
And as a linebacker, you talk about already being able to have single blocks. So that puts a hat on the hat, and then that allows the lineman to get up to the second level, which affects my job as a linebacker, which means there's going to be huge gaps and gashes when you talk about running the football.
You were telling me this morning, Dan, you covered Detroit's last game last year, which was almost a playoff game. It felt they were out of the playoffs, but it felt like it mattered to them that much.
So it was primetime Lambeau Field, last game of the year, and they had the opportunity. They were knocked out of the playoffs because of results earlier in the day. They had a chance to knock out the Packers by beating. And I remember talking to the players on that team before that game, and they were so fired up because they kept saying, we don't get primetime games. Like, the Lions are not we are proud of what we're doing here. We want to show everybody. We want to get more primetime games. And lo and behold, they get the very next one. They are going to be very hungry and very excited coming into this game. They can score. I think they can. This is saying a lot, but I think they're one of the teams in the league that can score with the Chiefs in a given game. Defensively, they were very bad last year. They worked on it.
A lot of improvement.
Ideally, they'll be better there, but, it's important to note that Chris Jones isn't going to be playing for them on Thursday night either. This could be a shootout, but I think that the point is the Lions are prepared for a shootout, and they feel good about it.
Kansas City's a 6.5-point favorite. Do you like the Lions to win this game straight up?
I'm bold on the Lions, and I was bold before Chris Jones wasn't there. With Chris Jones there, I think they have more ways to win the football game when you consider the fact that they'll be able to matriculate the ball down the field and understand that they have the offensive line that can, slow the game down. But if Kansas City falls behind, they don't have the defense to kind of slow the Lions down, and it means Patrick Mahomes has to be magical. Now, we're accustomed to seeing that, but when Kansas City goes down, it's usually early in the season that they get their new identity every year.
But one way or another, another. That timing means maybe he's not on the field
possible.
for their opener against the Steelers this week. And when you compare him to T.J. Watt, there's another similarity, I think. Yeah. Most contenders in the NFL, we say the one guy they can't lose is the quarterback, right? I mean, almost every contender in the league. There are two teams that I think it's the other side. If we consider Pittsburgh a contender, which I sort of do, I think T.J. Watt is the player they can't afford to lose. Yeah. And in San Francisco, this is their best player. I mean, if they don't have Nick Bosa, what does it mean for Sunday?
Well, he sets the table, right? So he sets the table. He also is a guy who puts pressure and allows the opposite defensive end to be able to flourish because he's going to get the one-on-one. So when you know you have a dominant pass rusher to one side, you know you can blitz the opposite side and change the math because you're going to predict that the help is going to be leaning towards him. It's like almost having Revis. It's like having Deion Sanders. When they can take away one side of the field, you take advantage of the opposite side of the field because now you know you're going to get matched up and you have to win your one-on-ones. He sets the table like T.J. Watt. And without him there, that means that the Pittsburgh Steelers can play different types of pass protections, right? They can go 5-0. They can slide either way. And if they get comfortable and Pickett gets comfortable, be careful because he's a guy who can run. He's a dual threat quarterback. And I think we understate the weapons that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. We talk about, Pickens. We talk about Johnson. But we don't mention Allen Robinson II, who used to be a premier receiver in his league. They have an outstanding tight end, which is like having back in the day when they had, I forgot the tight end they used to have that block.
Heath Miller?
Heath Miller, like having a Heath Miller.
I got you.
So, I mean, I think this is a potential that maybe it can be an upset alert.
You're talking about Pat Freiermuth, who we all love, was like baby Gronk. I mean, he's got a little bit of that quality going on. So are we putting the San Francisco 49ers on upset alert week 1 at Pittsburgh?
No, because they're the more physical team. How about this statistic? Last year, the San Francisco 49er opponents were 1-15 in the weeks following that they played the 49ers. And the one was when the Kansas City Chiefs had a bye week and then they beat Tennessee the following.
So let's underline that. What you're saying, because I want to make sure it's clear because it's incredible. No team won a game the following week last season after playing San Francisco.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Kansas City was the one, but it was after a bye week.
The following week. That's what I mean. Never happened. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that shows you the Steelers in week 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you're not talking to me about week 1, though. Pittsburgh can't beat them?
I don't think so. And I know Nick Bosa is a great player, but it's going to be the former Steeler. To me, that makes a difference. Javon Hargrave was a big sign by the 49ers. Look at their DNA. They've been so aggressive up front, despite having Nick Bosa and all these other first-round picks. They go out on the first day of free agency, and they sign Javon Hargrave. And I think that quick interior pressure is going to impact Kenny Pickett. And despite those great weapons, I think it's the San Francisco Giants 3 and the Pittsburgh Pirates nothing. That's the type of game we're looking at Sunday.
But Samolo, remember, they went and got an outstanding guard that used to practice against him every day. Samolo is a war daddy over there as well. So a beefed up offensive line for Pittsburgh Steelers. And you don't out-physical the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care who's in the jersey. The brand of Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not going to be intimidated by the physicality of the San Francisco 49ers.
Bart, I got 16 different examples to show you from last year that San Francisco's.
Every year is a different year. And when they go against other guys, they're looking at other bullies as well when they look across the sideline.
But it has been a while since the Steelers were pushing people around with their offensive line, right? I mean, that's been the big issue the last couple of years for them. If that's fixed, if that's really improved, then this means more to the Pittsburgh Steelers than the evolution of Kenny Pickett, than anything else that's going on. If that offensive line can be as physical and tough as it used to be, like in Ben Roethlisberger's heyday, then I think a lot of things change.
When T.J. Watt is healthy, he is the best defensive player in football.
I agree.
Period.
With the possible exception of Micah Parsons?
No.
You put him ahead of Parsons?
T.J. Watt,
Bosa, and Parsons.
T.J. Watt should have 2 defensive MVPs. Injury is the only thing that stopped him from having 2. And if he's going to be opposite of Trent Williams, good luck to the right tackle. Long day.
Agree. The best quarterback of this game, in my opinion, is Brock Purdy. Kyle Shanahan knows what a quarterback looks like, and he knows what they gave up in Trey Lance. And to let him leave the building for a 4th-round pick, their eggs are in Brock Purdy's basket, who played really good football.
Isn't that remarkable? Because the other guy was a first-round pick. And that one was the last pick in the draft. You may very well be right. We'll see. I love Pittsburgh, not just in the opener, but in general this season. If he's watching right now, what would you say to him?
And I was over there yesterday, and if I would have known that he said that, I would have put him to the side and said, hey, young fella, you're getting ahead of your skis just a little bit. You might want to stop the comparisons, not only to great historical defenses, but also Super Bowl winning teams. Listen, we don't need you to be out here bulletin board material. We don't need you out here going simple jack, Tropic Thunder. Pump your brakes just a little bit, young fella. Let's get some games first. Let's stop some of these great offenses that you're going to see the first 5 weeks, and then pound your chest a little bit like a peacock. But, man, pump your brakes a little bit.
Yes, and when people say to you, well, what is the difference between confidence and cockiness? That's it.
Yeah.
That comment right there. Confidence equals good. Cockiness equals potentially a problem. And here's what concerns me the most about it, is that we all sit out here on the outside and we talk about the lofty expectations. Yes, you get Aaron Rodgers, of course, everyone's going to be excited. And the team does look like they're going to be very good. And you got, from what I'm told, some dopey talk show host on ESPN is running around wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey all the time. So I get that there's going to be excitement. But inside the building, they can't let that impact the way they prepare. They can't think there's something they're not yet. Does this suggest that there is a problem?
There could be. And candidly, this comment reminded a little bit of Rex Ryan, who used to walk into the special teams coach tree and say, hey, we're not practicing kickoff return this week because the other team's not going to make a first down.
Right.
But he did it in a way that he actually had some accomplishments and he could back it up, so it was confidence, borderline on cocky, as we all know and love Rex.
Yeah. Right.
But he could really back it up. Look, let's go win a game or two before we start comparing ourselves to anything, guys.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.